Welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles, and if you're just joining our community, you might be wondering what this course is all about. I'd love to invite you to check out the very first video on this channel, where I break down exactly what A Course in Miracles is, how it came to exist, and why it's been transforming lives for over 5 decades. It'll give you the perfect foundation for everything we explore together here. Have you ever felt like there's something more you're supposed to be doing with your life? Maybe you've had moments where you felt a deep calling to help others, to bring healing or peace into situations, but you weren't quite sure what that meant or how to go about it. Perhaps you've experienced times when you seemed to say exactly the right words to someone who desperately needed to hear them, or found yourself in the perfect place at the perfect time to offer comfort to a stranger. If any of this resonates with you, then what we're about to explore together might just transform how you see your purpose in this world. Welcome to this deep dive into one of the most profound and practical sections of A Course in Miracles. Today, we're venturing into Chapter 2, Section 66, the Special Principles of Miracle Workers. Now, before you think this is only for some enlightened few or spiritual elite, let me stop you right there. The truth is, if you're drawn to these teachings, if something inside you is stirring as you hear these words, then you're already being called to this work. The question isn't whether you're qualified to be a miracle worker. The question is whether you're ready to accept the role that's already yours. You see, we live in a world that seems increasingly divided, filled with fear, conflict, and suffering. Every day, we're bombarded with news of separation, hatred, and despair. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, powerless, or even cynical about our ability to make a real difference. But what if I told you that within each of us lies a power so profound, so transformative, that it can literally shift the energy of any situation we encounter? What if the very challenges we face in our daily lives, the difficult relationships, the workplace conflicts, the family tensions, the internal struggles are actually opportunities for us to practice something extraordinary? This isn't about performing supernatural feats or becoming some kind of mystical guru. The miracles we're talking about are far more practical and accessible than you might think. They happen in the quiet moments when we choose love over fear, when we extend forgiveness instead of holding grudges, when we see beyond someone's behavior to the cry for love beneath it. They occur when we remember that our true identity isn't found in our job title, our bank account, or our social media profile, but in something infinitely more valuable and eternal. The Course teaches us that miracle workers aren't born different from everyone else. We don't have special powers that others lack. What we have is a willingness, a simple willingness to see things differently, to question our assumptions about reality, and to allow something greater than our ego to work through us. But here's the thing that many people don't understand. This work comes with specific principles, guidelines that help us navigate the complexities of human relationships and spiritual growth. Without these principles, we might find ourselves trying to fix everyone and everything around us, burning out from the weight of responsibility we were never meant to carry. We might confuse our role with that of the Holy Spirit, or worse, let our ego convince us that we're somehow superior to those we're called to serve. We might start spiritual bypassing, using these teachings to avoid dealing with practical realities, or we might become so focused on being spiritual that we lose touch with our humanity. The principles we're about to explore together act as guardrails for our spiritual journey. They help us understand not just what miracle work is, but how to do it effectively, joyfully, and sustainably. They show us how to maintain our own inner peace while serving others, how to recognize when we're operating from love versus fear, and how to stay connected to our true source of guidance in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions. Whether you're new to A Course in Miracles or you've been studying it for years, whether you consider yourself deeply spiritual or you're just beginning to question the meaning of life, these principles have something profound to offer you. They're not theoretical concepts meant for intellectual analysis. They're practical tools for living with greater purpose, peace, and authenticity. So settle in, open your heart, and prepare to discover not just what it means to be a miracle worker, but how you can begin embodying these principles in your life starting today. The foundation. Who are miracle workers? Let me ask you something that might surprise you. What if I told you that you've already been a miracle worker multiple times in your life, but you just didn't recognize it? Think about it for a moment. Remember that time when you listened to a friend who was going through a tough breakup, and somehow your presence alone helped them feel less alone? Or when you smiled at a stranger who looked sad and you noticed their whole demeanor shift? Those weren't coincidences. Those were miracles in action. Here's what most people get wrong about miracle workers. They think it's some kind of exclusive club for saints and mystics. They imagine people floating in meditation for hours, speaking in ancient wisdom, completely detached from ordinary life. But the Course reveals something far more beautiful and accessible. A miracle worker is simply someone who has made a fundamental decision. The decision to serve love instead of fear, to extend healing instead of harm, to be a conduit for peace in a world desperately hungry for it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The Course tells us that miracle workers are both chosen and choosing. What does this mean? Well, on one level, we're all chosen for this work. It's literally written into the fabric of who we are as spiritual beings. The capacity to work miracles isn't something we earn or develop. It's something we remember. It's our natural inheritance as children of God. But here's the catch. Being chosen doesn't mean we automatically choose it back. Think about your own life. How many times have you felt that gentle nudge to reach out to someone, to speak words of comfort, to act with kindness, but then your mind jumped in with excuses? They won't want to hear from me. I don't know what to say. What if I make things worse? That's the difference between being called and answering the call. The invitation is always there, but we have to say yes. And here's something that might shock you. The reason so few people answer this call has nothing to do with their spiritual worthiness or their level of enlightenment. It has everything to do with fear. We're terrified of what it might mean to truly surrender our lives to love. We're afraid of looking foolish, of being vulnerable, of discovering that we're more powerful than we ever imagined. Because with great power comes great responsibility, right? But what if that's exactly backwards? What if the real burden isn't in accepting our role as miracle workers, but in denying it? Think about how exhausting it is to go through life feeling disconnected from your purpose, constantly searching for meaning in achievements, relationships, or possessions that can never truly satisfy. What if that restless feeling inside you isn't a sign that something's wrong with you, but a sign that something's trying to emerge through you? The Course teaches us that when we operate as miracle workers, we're not working alone. We're partnering with the Holy Spirit, that voice for God within us that knows exactly what each situation needs. This isn't about becoming some kind of spiritual superhero who has all the answers. It's about becoming transparent enough that divine love can flow through us naturally. Here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop trying to be a miracle worker and simply allow yourself to be one, everything changes. You stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders because you realize that's never been your job. Your job is much simpler and infinitely more joyful. It's to show up with an open heart and let love do what love does best. The question isn't whether you're qualified for this work. The question is, are you ready to remember who you really are? The principles, how miracle workers operate. Now that we've established who miracle workers really are, which is all of us, by the way, let's dive into the practical stuff. Because here's what nobody tells you about spiritual awakening. It's not enough to just have good intentions. You need a roadmap, a set of principles that keep you grounded and effective. Without these guidelines, you might find yourself spinning your wheels, trying to save everyone and everything, only to end up frustrated, exhausted, and questioning whether any of this spiritual stuff actually works. The first principle that changes everything is this: miracle workers don't create miracles, they remove the blocks to them. This is huge, and it completely flips our understanding of how healing works. Most of us have been conditioned to think we need to fix people, solve their problems, or somehow manufacture transformation. But that's not our job at all. Love is already there, healing is already available, peace is already present. Our role is to get our ego out of the way so these natural forces can flow freely. Think about it like this. Imagine you're a gardener, and you discover that a beautiful flower is struggling to grow because there's a rock on top of it. Your job isn't to create the flower. It's already perfect and complete. Your job is simply to remove the rock. In miracle work, those rocks are our judgments, our fears, our need to control outcomes, our attachment to being right. When we move these obstacles aside, miracles happen naturally. But here's where it gets tricky. And this is the second crucial principle. We must learn to distinguish between the voice of the ego and the voice of the Holy Spirit. This isn't some mystical, ethereal concept. It's incredibly practical. The ego always operates from fear, scarcity, and separation. It whispers things like, "You need to convince them you're right, or they'll never change," or, "If you don't handle this, no one will." The ego loves drama, complexity, and making everything about us. The Holy Spirit, on the other hand, speaks in peace, simplicity, and love. Its guidance feels gentle but certain, loving but clear. It might prompt you to simply listen without trying to fix, to ask a question instead of giving advice, or to take a step back and let someone find their own answers. The Holy Spirit never pushes, never creates urgency, and never makes you feel burdened by someone else's problems. Here's a game-changing insight. The Holy Spirit is always asking us to do less, not more. While the ego wants us to manipulate, convince, and control, the Holy Spirit asks us to trust, allow, and extend love. This doesn't mean being passive. It means being responsive to divine guidance rather than reactive to our fears. Now, let's talk about the third principle that will revolutionize your relationships. Understanding the difference between your role and the Holy Spirit's role. Your role is to show up, be willing, and stay open. The Holy Spirit's role is to handle the outcomes, the timing, and the specific form the healing takes. This distinction is liberating because it frees you from the impossible burden of trying to control how others respond to love. Have you ever tried to help someone and gotten frustrated when they didn't appreciate your advice or didn't change as quickly as you thought they should? That frustration is a sign that you've stepped out of your role and into the Holy Spirit's territory. When you stay in your lane, offering love without attachment to results, you'll find that your effectiveness increases dramatically, and your stress decreases proportionally. But here's the most beautiful part. When you operate from these principles, miracle work becomes joyful instead of draining. You stop taking responsibility for things that aren't yours to handle, and you start trusting in a wisdom far greater than your own. You become a clear channel for love, and love knows exactly what to do in every situation. The principles aren't complicated, but they require practice and patience with yourself as you learn to apply them consistently. The purpose, why this work matters here, is what I want you to imagine for a moment. A world where every person you encounter feels truly seen, genuinely loved, and completely accepted for who they are. Picture walking into your workplace, your family gatherings, even standing in line at the grocery store and knowing that you're contributing to an invisible network of healing that's transforming everything it touches. This isn't some utopian fantasy. This is the actual purpose of miracle work, and it's more achievable than you might think. The ultimate goal of being a miracle worker isn't to fix the world's problems one by one. It's something far more profound and efficient. It's to demonstrate that there's another way to live, another way to respond to conflict, another way to see ourselves and others. Every time you choose love over fear, forgiveness over judgment, peace over drama, you're not just changing your own experience. You're contributing to a collective awakening that ripples out in ways you'll never fully comprehend. Think about the people who have most influenced your life. Were they the ones who tried to change you with lectures and advice? Probably not. The people who transformed you were likely those who simply loved you as you were, who saw your potential even when you couldn't see it yourself, who remained peaceful in the midst of your chaos. They were being miracle workers, whether they knew it or not. And their impact on your life proves the power of this approach. But here's where this gets really exciting. Every single act of love, no matter how small it seems, serves the atonement. The atonement, in course terms, is the correction of our fundamental error, the belief that we're separate from God, from each other, from our true nature. Every time you extend genuine kindness, you're proving that separation is an illusion. Every moment you choose to see someone's innocence instead of their mistakes, you're demonstrating that love is more real than fear. This creates what I call the miracle ripple effect. When you interact with someone from a place of authentic love and acceptance, something shifts in them. They might not even be conscious of it, but they walk away feeling a little lighter, a little more hopeful, a little more connected to their own goodness. Then they carry that energy into their next interaction, and the person they encounter benefits from the love you extended earlier. This is how healing spreads, not through preaching or convincing, but through demonstration. Now, I want to address something that stops many people from fully embracing this work: the fear that they're not good enough, spiritual enough, or healed enough to help others. This is one of the ego's favorite tricks. It convinces us that we need to be perfect before we can be useful, that we need to have all our problems solved before we can assist others with theirs. But the Course teaches us something revolutionary. We heal together, or not at all. Your willingness to be a miracle worker doesn't depend on your having achieved some impossible standard of enlightenment. It depends on your willingness to be real, to be present, and to choose love even when you don't feel particularly loving. Some of the most powerful healing happens when we're vulnerable enough to say, "I don't have all the answers, but I'm here with you in this moment." Resistance and doubt are normal parts of this journey. Your ego will try to convince you that this is too simple to work, too good to be true, or that you're being naive about the real world. But here's what I've learned. The real world is the one where love is the only truth, where healing is always possible, and where every person is worthy of miracles. The world of fear, scarcity, and separation. That's the illusion we're awakening from. The joy and peace that come from fulfilling our function as miracle workers are unlike anything else we can experience. When you align with your true purpose, when you allow love to flow through you freely, you tap into a source of energy and fulfillment that never runs dry. You stop feeling like you're swimming upstream against life, and you start feeling like you're flowing with the current of divine love. This is your invitation to step fully into the role you were born to play. The world needs your unique expression of love, your particular way of extending miracles, your specific contribution to the healing of our collective consciousness. As we come to the end of our journey through these special principles of miracle workers, I want you to take a moment and really let this sink in. Everything we've discussed today isn't theory or philosophy. It's a practical blueprint for transforming your daily experience and the lives of everyone you encounter. We've discovered that being a miracle worker isn't about achieving some impossible standard of perfection. It's about recognizing the truth that's already within you, that you are love, you are whole, and you have everything you need to be a healing presence in this world. We've explored how miracle workers operate not by trying to fix or control, but by removing the blocks to love and trusting in divine guidance. And we've seen how every act of authentic love serves a greater purpose, contributing to the healing of our entire world. The most beautiful part of this work is that it starts right where you are, with whoever is in front of you, in whatever situation you're facing today. You don't need special training, mystical experiences, or years of preparation. You just need the willingness to choose love over fear, one moment at a time. I want to thank you for showing up here today, for being open to these ideas, and for having the courage to consider that your life might have a purpose far greater than you've imagined. The fact that you've stayed with me through this entire exploration tells me something important about you. You're already answering the call to be a miracle worker. You're already part of this beautiful network of love that's quietly transforming our world. Now, here's what I want you to do. Don't let this just be another video you watched and then forgot about. Take one principle we discussed today and commit to practicing it for the next week. Maybe it's remembering that your job is to remove blocks to love, not create miracles. Perhaps it's learning to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of love in your daily decisions. Or it could be simply trusting that every act of kindness serves a greater purpose even when you can't see the results. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Share which principle resonated most deeply with you, or tell us about a time when you experienced miracle work in your own life, either as the giver or the receiver. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this video has touched your heart and you want to dive deeper into A Course in Miracles, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're going to continue exploring these profound teachings together, always focusing on practical application and real-world transformation. Share this video with someone who might need to remember their true purpose. You never know whose life might be changed by these ideas. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are not too small, too broken, or too ordinary to make a difference. You are a miracle worker, called to be a beacon of love in a world that desperately needs what you have to offer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing. And thank you for saying yes to love. Until next time, keep choosing miracles.